Milne Bay Islanders call on leaders to address lawlessness. Prime Minister gives assurance to work with Autonomous Bougainville Government. And state funeral held for Sir Jerry Nalau.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Seah.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for Wednesday's news. The Milne Bay Friends Association, including elites and concerned citizens, have called on leaders to address the lawlessness in Alotau. In a news conference in Port Mosby, they say the provincial government has lost control of the province. The concerned Milne Bay locals say the issue has affected people, businesses and schools, including the movement of people.
The concerned citizens come from different parts of Milne Bay province. They echoed sentiments of the province being left to tarnish following the rise in criminal activities that occurred on the eve of 28th and 29th April. A senior leader says the provincial government has not shown its authority to address the situation.
And what I came out away is that the Milne Bay Provincial Government has abrogated its legal and constitutional duty as a government and handed over the running of the province to police. We need to decisively, our leaders and Milne Bay province has to decisively move and gain confidence of our people that they are safe. And you can't do it by just relying on police.
A women representative believes the governor needs to step down. She says the political head of the province is sick and unfit to make decisive steps to give assurance and comfort to the people.
We don't have leaders down there. People don't know how to lead, unlike before. It saddens me. I really need to see the governor of Milne Bay to resign and step aside.
With local police being assisted with additional forces from Port Mosby in Alotau to carry on investigation and maintain order, the group believes there is more underlying issues to address. They claim many factors as add-on to the lawlessness that has affected all sectors.
The island people cannot come and do their business. They cannot fish and come and sell their products and go back, without fear. When you go now and shop, you have to see, who's there?
Businesses have scaled down and services opening up for certain trading hours. The group has also expressed concerns of forced eviction by police in settlements surrounding the town area. However, Police Commissioner David Medeng says there were no eviction orders given.
Most of our people who pulled their homes down are living under makeshift. They've even asked some of us leaders to provide canvases so that they can live under the canvas. And it is a poor state when you get down there and you see our people who call themselves as landowners of the Milne Bay province have been displaced.
Jack Lapava Jr., National EMTV News.
Police Commissioner David Manning was in Alotau today for a brief on the current police operations in Milne Bay. Speaking at Gurney Airport, Commissioner Manning says more work needs to be done to address the law and order situation. He says recommendations have been put forward by the local police and will be taken into consideration. Manning has also brushed aside forced evictions by police in settlements around town.
With Milne Bay, again, the commitment of the force is that we will continue to be a presence in the province. Despite, contrary to social media posts, the police force is not packing up and leaving Milne Bay. We're here to stay, and we'll continue to provide that much needed service to the wider community of the province. The talk about the forced eviction, we did discuss that with both the Open MP as well as the governor and the provincial administrator, of course with the PPC in the company of the PPC. Let me assure those who are affected that this is, whilst an initiative taken on advice by the PPC, it is what it is. It is a voluntary repatriation exercise that's been conducted. But at some point, land around the town is obviously owned by the state, and at some point the state may look at other options to how best they can free up that land. We do take note that some of these settlements do pose a security threat, and of course it does hinder on the progress of the province.
There was a special police operation conducted here in Milne Bay. The situation was contained. A lot of criminal activities dismantled. A lot of people arrested, taken to court, but we did not eliminate the leaders at the time or have them arrested. We did, but they actually escaped from prison. And they are now out on the run, and they managed to influence young people to follow them. And now 2 years later, in 2021, it has reached a point where it is now a security threat.
Prime Minister James Marape has reassured his government's support to see all consultation process with the ABG is done rightly under the National Constitution and the Bougainville Peace Agreement, with the ABG outlining their position to have Bougainville gain full independence by June 2025. The Prime Minister says this position questions the national unity of the country. However, he says the government will not dilute the results of the referendum and stands committed to see this process through.
Our position on the future political status of Bougainville is clear. Bougainville must now have its independence within the next 4 years through the election of members to the Parliament of the independent state of Bougainville by June 2025.
As this clearly outlines the position of the Autonomous Bougainville Government, the Prime Minister did not shy away from the fact that Bougainville's special case can have an effect on national unity. But he says the talk on Bougainville's independence must be discussed.
This conversation is not something that we must be fearful about. It needs to be made. It needs to be made. It needs to be staged.
While highlighting past experiences on how key pillars within the Bougainville Peace Agreement were handled, the PM remains optimistic. He says past experiences will shape the future.
Circumstances that happened in the past are there to ensure we guide the future properly as present generations of Papua New Guineans and Bougainville's. We choose to ignore little punctuation marks or what could have been little full stops along the way. And we allowed for referendum to take its course. We knew that was a big turn in as far as Bougainville Peace Agreement was concerned.
Moreover, it is now upon his government to see this process through. And yesterday's first consultation is one that speaks volume to reassure the people of Bougainville that the government is committed and will honor the referendum results of 2019.
We remain committed and guided under the total overarching embrace of our national constitution. This discussion goes to question the total sovereignty of our nationhood, but I believe that on both sides of the Bismarck Sea, on both sides of the Isles, on both sides of our people, greater common good can be found and consensus can be reached.
Stanley Over Jr., National EMTV News.
The University of Papua New Guinea today received the keys to its newly built student accommodation. The two-story complex is jointly funded by NCDC and the national government at a cost of 18 million kina. The facility was formally handed over to the university this morning.
21. The building is hereby open.
The two-story dormitory is 150 rooms and will accommodate 300 students. It also includes ablution blocks, common areas and an IT room. NCDC Governor Poes Pakub said the facility was built as a token of appreciation to the university for allowing NCDC to build the Morata to Gereru Road on university land.
Basically to compensate, reward the university for allowing us to construct the road at Morata to get on their land. So I'm very thankful that the university did not obstruct us. It's important for us to build those type of infrastructure for the city. But I'm happy that we are contributing this facility to the university. They absolutely need it.
UPNG Vice Chancellor Frank Griffin, in thanking NCDC for their support, said the university continues to face issues with student accommodation and the facility will help relieve that burden.
We're very grateful to NCDC, especially the governor, and also the national government for their continued investment in this institution. It's not anyone's institution, it's everyone's institution. It's the National University of Papua New Guinea, and the investment that's been made helps us to offer a little bit more than what we are currently doing.
While it is unclear at the moment whether or not the facility will be occupied by the male or female students, Professor Griffin said the task of managing the facility will be a challenge for the university.
The acquisition of the new facilities also now gives us a little bit more challenge in terms of how we will manage it, because the maintenance, it now falls on us. So in that way, hopefully we will stay in contact with the commission so that we can collectively maintain and look after this facility.
Meanwhile, Governor Pakub said NCDC will try its best to assist where they can, but says they are willing to partner with the university in future projects that would be of benefit to the city as well.
I'm most willing to support them. If they build like IT labs or, other facilities that, it's a win-win for the city and for the university. That would be something we would be interested in and can partner them. But it's up to the council and the management. They decide how to use them. For the repair and so on, where we can, we'll try to help.
Yana Zoiri, National EMTV News.
The new accommodation facility was a welcoming sight. However, the country's premier learning institution has lingering maintenance issues. Some of its rundown buildings and staff housing have withered away for over 5 years. Vice Chancellor Professor Frank Griffin said these are challenges the university has to overcome.
We still have to undertake structural evaluations of the buildings that are not being currently used. Once we get the all clear from the engineers that they are okay to be rehabilitated again, we can renovate them and put students in there again. We gratefully and thankfully accept the facility, but we now have to manage it. And as I said, being a national university, an institution that belongs to the people, we can have whatever resources we have to cater for these facilities, but at the same time, we welcome any help that comes from outside in maintaining and making sure that all the facilities are functional.
Still ahead on National EMTV News, more campaigning in the Mosby Northwest by-election, and St. John Ambulance gets assistance from Atlas Steel. Stay with us for the details. Welcome back. Kandap MP Don Pollier is calling on the government and authorities to urgently help the stranded PNG nationals in Tuvalu. Pollier says authorities must assist by making a bold move to repatriate the 7 men. He says the men are affected, including their families in Papua New Guinea. The 7 men have been stranded in the tiny island nation of Tuvalu for more than a year.
And they are there not because of their own making or they wanted to be there because of their interest. They're serving and working for another Papua New Guinea company. Nalau is a Papua New Guinea company also, I know. But unfortunately, because of all these other economic and business factors, if it has gone bankrupt or liquidated, I cannot be able to afford the travel back. It now is the duty of the Papua New Guinea government to do that. Any citizen of Papua New Guinea that is left stranded in any part of the world, it is the duty of the government of Papua New Guinea to bring them back. There's no question about it. And that should be brought back immediately.
With almost 2 weeks into the Mosby Northwest by-election, candidates contesting the by-election are making use of the few remaining days of campaign. Dr. Thaddeus Kambane is one of the 42 candidates contesting. Yesterday, he staged one of his campaign rallies in Tatana village.
Dr. Thaddeus Kambane visited Araria and Tatana villages yesterday. According to one of his policies voiced to the Motu-Koitabuens, he says the government must give special privileges to Motu-Koitabuens because of their land.
Papua New Guinea is so privileged that the Motu-Koitabu people have allowed us to live in their land, live in Port Moresby. Port Moresby is the largest city in the South Pacific.
Dr. Kambane has been in public system for long. He says given a little time before the 2022 elections, he hopes to install basic services to those in the electorate. A policy he hopes to endorse is the endowment fund.
This is something that's very unique. Nobody has done it. Trust me. I hope my other brother candidates do not see what I'm seeing. And I want to be able to run this and develop that fund for our people, for Motu-Koitabu people, because they deserve it.
Another of his policy is TV education. About 2 weeks is left for the campaign period before voting.
I am told that the TV program for NCDC that runs is only for Port Moresby South and other electorates in Port Moresby North. Nothing for Port Moresby Northwest. And so under my leadership, we will change that.
Alexis Sengi, National EMTV News.
The Medeng Provincial Hospital has received medical equipment for its cardiac and cancer units. The equipment were purchased through a fundraising drive last year by friends of the hospital who climbed Mount Olam. Team leader Pamela Eugenio says they had raised 54,000 kina to purchase these equipments.
Yesterday, the friends of the hospital presented one ECG machine and 10 boxes of recording papers for the cardiac unit that comes under the A&E department. For the cancer unit, 2 benchtop sterilizers with accessories were presented.
2 of the most important departments where most of the climbers that we took part had our own personal losses through those department where we come, but because no this kind of something, you mean not blow simalpima, so we lost loved ones to this side will see.
Dr. Martin Diamond says there is an increase in lifestyle diseases. These diseases are causing most deaths in men. The new ECG machine will greatly assist the hospital, especially in the emergency department, to help prevent deaths.
And it will really help a lot to prevent deaths. The earlier we diagnose, the earlier we treat, the earlier we prevent all the complications and deaths.
Gynecology specialist Dr. Paula Oa says cervical cancer is one of the most common cancer in the gynecology unit. Dr. Oa says at least 2 or 3 new cases are recorded at the hospital every week. This equipment will help the unit detect or prevent the spread of cervical cancer in the early stages.
The end-stage cancer, new cases, 2 to 3 every week, and it's depressing. So this clinic here is for identifying the virus that causes cervical cancer and then preventing what we are seeing now. So we know that we are not alone in doing this when we have donors like you or groups like you coming and helping us. And
PHA Acting CEO Dr. Sammy Thomas also thanked friends of the hospital for their tireless efforts to ensure the vital equipment will help save many lives.
As Dr. I was saying, they see 3 or 4 per week of cancer, uncontrollable cancer cervix. You come to the hospital, we can do nothing about it. But this clinic that has been set up here is to prevent cancer.
Martha Luis, National EMTV News, Medeng.
Steel PNG has come on board to assist St. John Ambulance PNG in providing fencing materials for its headquarters in Port Moresby. The assistance comes at a cost of up to 50,000 kina.
The St. John Ambulance PNG headquarters is braced with brand new fencing thanks to the support from Steel PNG. In the formal exchange of appreciation earlier today, Deputy Commissioner of St. John's, Rigona Rita, thanked the Atlas Steel for their support.
This is sort of a protection to our properties and for our staffs as well. So on behalf of the management, I'd like to say thank you for donating such a wonderful gift to St. John.
Atlas Steel branch manager Peter Brown stated this assistance is part of the company's social obligations.
We realise that St. John's have got constraints with financing, and we thought, well, where can we help so they can use whatever finance they've got to support the community out there with first aid work and ambulances rather than buying fences. So that's where Atlas Steel stepped in, and we try to help give back to the community wherever we can.
Brown adding the company's assistance goes back a long way, including the 2015 Pacific Games, where they assisted in providing materials to St. John's Ambulance. The fencing assistance only stems this long-standing partnership in delivering effective and efficient ambulance services. Kilawani, National EMTV News.
Steamships, through its partnership with eSpace and ShopSmart PNG, will cover logistics for vendors on the ShopSmart online marketplace. They held a news conference to affirm the partnership yesterday.
Steamships' partnership with eSpace and ShopSmart PNG will outline the value-added supports of heavily subsidized logistics of vendors' items and products to be delivered to the buyers using the ShopSmart PNG online marketplace.
We will use our existing logistics network through East-West Trucking and Consort Express lines to connect buyers and sellers across our network. And we're offering heavily discounted freight. We're effectively free of charge from our perspective.
ShopSmart PNG connects buyers and sellers on the online platform with a variety of delivery options. CEO of Amstrat Holdings Limited, Vani Nades, says delivering products across the nation is very costly and they are grateful for the partnership's assistance.
Coming to the discussions of how steamships can come and help us local SMEs in terms of getting our goods from one end to the other. This is an amazing and exciting partnership that they are solving for us as SMEs.
Steamships Project and Business Development Manager Alfred Weston says this is to show their support of the ShopSmart PNG initiative.
I think it's fair to say that we also want to engage more with SMEs in PNG, so we see this as being one way of doing this.
Gertrude Gabi, National EMTV News.
And now looking at the NAS Fund market reports, the Kina opened unchanged at $0.2850 in the interbank markets. At Bank South Pacific, your Kina will buy $0.2775 $0.3511 Australian dollars, $0.3789 New Zealand dollars, and 29.59 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading higher, coffee and copra closed higher, and cocoa closed lower. Palm oil closed lower, crude oil is trading higher, and copper closed higher. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed lower, the ASX 200 is trading higher, and the Ordinaries is trading higher. You're watching National EMTV News. Among stories after the break, a kind gesture for a hard-working mother in Port Mosby. Details after the break. Welcome back to the news. A state funeral was held for Mosby leader and one of PNG's founding fathers, Sir Jerry Nalau, at the St. Paul's Lutheran Church in Lae yesterday. His casket was flown to Finschhafen district this morning, where he would be laid to rest on Friday.
The St. Paul's Lutheran Church in Lae was packed with people yesterday as they gathered to pay their last respect to Mosby's first governor and country's patrol officer, Sir Jerry Nalau. Also there to farewell Mosby's leader and statesman was member for Yanguru Sausia, Richard Maru, Nawai MP Kennedy Wenge, Mosby's former premiers, and Governor Ginsen Saunu. said Jerry Nalau's casket was escorted into the church by the disciplinary forces, followed by his family members. Said Jerry Kasip Nalau was born on the 3rd of March 1938. He was educated at Dregafen Education Center in Finchafen, along with PNG's first Prime Minister, late Sir Michael Somare, from 1952 to 1956. Later, they formed the Bully Beef Club that brought together future leaders for the formation of the new country, Papua New Guinea. When Sir Michael Somare became Chief Minister, Sir Jerry Nalau remained close by his side. As his most trusted aide, Sir Jerry was sent to Bougainville and then to Simbu Province's District Commissioner. In his last interview with EMTV, the day after Sir Michael passed, Sir Jerry spoke of Sir Michael and about how the traditional Melanesian values of leadership required a lot of sacrifice for the good of the people.
You can plan this something. People along Simbu Islands only believe long things happen. Long on him. Tok long go there. Anu. Somebody tells Sir Jerry Nalau go misala buka Deputy Commissioner.
On Monday, his casket laid peacefully at the Tutumang House for the last time, where leaders of Morbe, including the Governor Ginsen Saunu, former Governor Luther Wenge, and the PEC members paid their respect. His casket was flown by Manolos Aviation to Finchafen District this morning and was received by Morbe's district members of parliament and the locals. His body would be put to rest next to his wife at his village at Ngasingala 2. Julie Badui, OA, National, MTV News, Ley.
Hotel staff at a hotel in Port Mosby organized an all-expense-paid night for a woman who sells farmers' produce at the Gordon's Market here in Port Mosby. Despite facing challenges during COVID-19, her kind heart in giving discounts to her customers prompted them to organize a fitting thank you.
Kind gestures are hard to come by these days, with a lot of challenges during the COVID-19 pandemic. Hotels and their staff often get farmers' produce from local resellers, and more than often, the farmers don't expect an overwhelming gesture apart from the thank you they receive on a daily basis. But for hotel staff at the Sanctuary Hotel, they gave a Mother's Day to remember for this mother, Melotoni, who didn't expect to get an all-expense-paid night at the hotel.
Now let's sorry one the boss na ultimi kamle ya mina sa wal sumul bagam kisini matas le alto bayu gam sleep ba kare mi gam mal gam sleep mi tri wal supply mi kayja moni non poliyat poli karbai mo kera sali.
COVID-19's negative effects on overall business has trickled down to the grassroots reseller as well. But Melotoni has always been kind-hearted to her regular customers, often giving discounts to them, which led to her getting the room at the hotel.
Also, buy nakam putin the place missing down logan. Landlord is la hotel. So come buy kage every day lomina. Also miss I give me one kage lol nothing. 5 fina. Every day only come buy 5 fina miss I give stand.
The soft-spoken mother from Yalibu Pangia in the Southern Highlands province earns a living reselling farmers' produce at Gordon's Market. She has been doing it for the past 21 years, ever since relocating to Port Mosby.
First time me market me took 21 years one line as I work in all this line me talk to.
The thought of sleeping in a hotel had never crossed her mind, and she felt it was a blessing for her, her husband and children. A kind gesture that shows kindness has its rewards.
The water will begin to blow me to me at all about school view. Online as I will. I'm a massing the matters dear soon and meet online and making me declare mass. Making me a mass and I meet the I think Baba got to back. I'm saying at the new and Banigo life and I meet even if you plan amigo city.
Freli Sukina, National, MTV News.
Recruits from the Bomana Correctional Service Institution recently went through an educational awareness program on the essence of dealing with substance abuse. The program covered the areas of the abuse of illicit drugs like marijuana as well as homebrew. The 136 recruits who received this educational awareness will now be able to understand the essence of drugs and alcohol abuse, which is a predicament to their health and well-being. Nicodemus Mosora from the National Narcotics Bureau told the recruits that the goal of addressing substance abuse in the country has to work with stakeholders, in this case the correctional service facility where rehabilitation of prisoners begins. The recruits were delighted to take part in the program, which will help them to create awareness for other prisoners to help them become good people in the community, free from drugs and alcohol consumption.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Teams looking to take part in the 2021 Digital Cup have the option to get vaccinated. This was mentioned by Papua New Guinea Rugby Football League Chairman Sunday Saka. Saka said franchise management and PNG RFL have met and agreed that players must be vaccinated to play in the competition.
We had to cancel the Digital Cup for 3 weeks. And one of the options that we're looking at is, given the difficulties and the logistics of moving the team around, the PNG NRLC board, Chairman Adrian and PNG RFL CEO brought the franchise owners in. They discussed all the options, and the options of vaccination was put on the table as the only way the competition was going to go ahead. So we encourage that all the franchises have agreed to take vaccination, and obviously a lot of awareness will still need to be made. It is still voluntary, it's not compulsory. It's voluntary to take our vaccination, so it's not being enforced upon anybody. But if we want to run the comp and play the comp within the COVID-safe environment, vaccination is actually a key option now. So we encourage that all the franchises are considering it. A couple of franchises started vaccination. It will continue for the next 14 days, and hopefully once everybody is vaccinated, the competition will get back online.
The Hunters program has opened doors for many young Papua New Guineans aspiring to be professional footballers in the Code of Rugby League. Justin Olam made the NRL through the Hunters program. Melbourne Storm legend and PNG icon in the Code says what Olam represents in the NRL front in terms of toughness is Papua New Guinea's natural ability in sports.
I'll tell you, every Papua New Guinea young boys, we are growing up. It's not about skills, it's about how tough we can play. In Papua New Guinea, when you run hard, that's all it counts. If you don't run hard and you put on your backside, everybody will give it to you in the country. So, Justin come from a hard, coming from a village. It's a different way of bringing up. And so do myself. I come from a different way of bringing up. It's hard. You walk everywhere, and those things are normal. You come up here, and everything is easy. And the toughness is still in the head. The aggressiveness. All you have to do is, you trigger it. And when Justin is angry or when he wants to play tough, he can play tough. And that shows when the Hunters boys in the Intra-Super Cup. They can be a very tough team. But at times, consistency is one of those things that the boys need to work on, and hopefully, we're still learning the game. A lot of these boys come from the village. Some of them finish probably grade 6, grade 8, or grade 10, and love the game because of players like Justin who inspire them. They want to be rugby league players. Most of them, and probably same as me, we struggle to speak English, and just the way we want to play the game. We want to play tough, we want to run hard and tackle hard, and that's all we know. But to come up here and Justin being coached by Craig and the coaching staff really changed his game from the 2016 that we see in change of mind, his mindset, the way he plays, cut off a lot of mistakes that he done with the Hunters. He's doing well, so we're proud of him.
Gamarabu village in Rigo Coast in Central Province is hosting a week-long soccer tournament. The tourney has attracted more than 40 teams from the coast and inland. Tournament coordinator Sele Rua says with a huge number of teams participating, the teams have been split into 8 pools and playing at 3 different venues. With 5 teams in each pool competing, the games are played in Makirupu, Kamali and host village Gemo. The round games will be completed today with finals expected to begin on Friday. And that story wraps up Trukai Sports, the weather report for the next 24 hours after the break.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
I'll look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region. Mostly fine in Port Mosby, partly cloudy weather in Daru, cloudy with a bit of rain showers in Kerma and Popondetta, and cloudy with a few showers in Alatau. In the Momase region, brief showers in Ley, partly cloudy weather in Medeng, and cloudy with brief showers in Wewak and Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, cloudy with a few showers in Lorengau, Kavieng, Kimbe and Buka, and partly cloudy weather in Kokopo and Rabaul. And in the Highlands region, cloudy periods with a few showers, then morning fog in Mount Hagen, and brief showers, then morning fog in Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Mabeg.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
And that's been the news, sport and weather for Wednesday, 19th of May 2021. On behalf of the news team, pleasant viewing. Thank you for joining us and good night.